I think we all know that image that just sticks with you. The image of a missing child and the disappearance of Joshlin Smith.
Yeah.
The 6-year-old from Saldanha Bay back in February of 2024. It's one that has just gripped so many for over a year now.
Yeah.
The questions have lingered, and today we are going to take a close look at what we know about this absolutely heartbreaking case.
Yeah.
We're going to be drawing from news articles covering the ongoing trial of her mother, Racquel Kelly Smith,
Right.
her boyfriend, Jacquin Boeta Appollis,
Okay.
and their friend Steveno van Rhyn. All three are facing charges of kidnapping and human trafficking, some very serious charges.
Yeah.
And our aim here is to really understand the key events, the different accounts that have emerged during the trial,
Okay.
and just to try and give you a clearer sense of the complexities surrounding Joshlin's disappearance.
Yeah, it is a difficult case, and like you mentioned, we've been following the news reports so closely. And I think a crucial starting point for us when we talk about the trial is understanding the events of the day Joshlin went missing.
Okay.
So according to Racquel Smith's plea explanation, and this is that initial statement you give to the court,
Right.
she admitted to using crystal meth or tic on that day.
Okay.
She also stated that Joshlin and her older brother didn't attend school because their clothes were dirty,
Oh, wow.
and that Joshlin wasn't feeling well. So it just starts to paint quite a tough picture of the circumstances already.
It does. It really does. Yeah, and we also learned that Smith took her youngest daughter to creche that morning and then went to work.
Right.
Later, she borrowed money
Oh.
from her employer's daughter, reportedly, to buy more drugs and then use them with her boyfriend, Appollis, during her lunch break.
Okay.
So it's these details that really start to build a picture of the environment surrounding Joshlin at the time.
Exactly. And as the day progressed, Smith apparently began to inquire about Joshlin's whereabouts, and when she couldn't find her at the park, her plea explanation states she became hysterical
Oh, wow.
and contacted the police, which, as we know, then led to these extensive search efforts.
Right.
Now, it's important to understand that a plea explanation, it's a statement made by the accused, but it's not the same as sworn testimony under oath during a trial.
Okay.
It's their initial account and can be subject to change or challenge as the proceedings continue.
That's a really important distinction to make.
It is.
Yeah. And Appollis's plea explanation largely supported Smith's account regarding their drug use that day.
Right.
He also added that he and Kelly had moved in together with her 3 children back in 2023.
Okay.
And he claimed that the children were loved by their mother
Okay.
and that he had become very attached to them. So it's these little glimpses into their family life, however troubled,
Yeah.
that really just make the whole situation all the more poignant.
It really does. And adding another layer to the events of that day
Okay.
is the testimony of a neighbor, Laurentia Lombard, also known as Renz. She stated in court that she smoked Mandrax with Appollis
Okay.
on the same day that Joshlin disappeared.
Oh, wow.
So you see how we're starting to get all these different people with different pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah.
and they don't always fit together neatly?
It's like trying to piece together a story with like missing pages almost.
Absolutely.
Then we have the testimony of Constable Yanga Gongotha, who was the first police officer to arrive on the scene.
Okay.
And his account offers a very different perspective on Smith's initial reaction.
Right.
Gongotha testified that Smith seemed more concerned about her boyfriend and whether he had filled a gas canister
Wow.
than about her missing 6-year-old daughter.
Oh my gosh.
He also noted that she didn't appear to show much emotion regarding Joshlin's disappearance.
It's so interesting to me how different people can perceive
Yeah.
another person's reaction, you know,
Yeah.
especially under immense stress.
Yeah.
So he saw this lack of emotion and certainly raised questions for him as the investigating officer.
Right.
It's also worth noting that Smith and Appollis later disputed Gongotha's testimony.
Okay.
They offered their own alternative versions of events, including where Smith met the police and the source of some loud music that Gongotha mentioned hearing.
Okay.
They also specifically denied that Smith had asked Appollis about a gas canister.
Yeah, and corroborating Gongotha's account to some extent
Okay.
was the testimony of Constable Kobis, who stated that Smith provided different versions of her day
Right.
when questioned about Joshlin.
Okay.
So this pattern of conflicting accounts right from the very beginning really highlights those complexities
Yeah,
that investigators have faced
absolutely.
in trying to establish a clear timeline and just an understanding of what happened.
And then going back to Laurentia Lombard's testimony,
Yeah.
we see even more discrepancies emerge.
Okay.
The defense attorney actually brought up a statement from a detective in an attempt to highlight inconsistencies. in Lombard's timeline, particularly regarding when a detective questioned Appollis about stolen chickens from a nearby farm.
Right.
Lombard maintained that it was the day before Joshlin disappeared, February 18th,
Right.
while the defense presented a statement suggesting it was February 17th.
Okay.
So while it might seem like a minor detail in a legal setting, these inconsistencies can be used to question a witness's overall reliability.
Absolutely. And Lombard's testimony took a very serious and disturbing turn when she claimed to have overheard Smith telling Appollis about a plan to sell Joshlin.
Oh, wow.
On that very day.
Gosh.
So this allegation, of course, goes directly to the heart of the human trafficking charges and adds this layer of immense gravity to the entire case.
Absolutely. And there was also testimony about the accused appearing to be in a cheerful mood when they arrived at court, despite the incredibly serious nature of the charges against them.
Yeah.
Now, that's something that can be perceived in many different ways by observers, but it certainly stood out to those present.
Right.
Additionally, there was a detail about Van Rhyn requesting to be moved within Malmesbury prison, expressing a wish to be among the general inmate population rather than in a single cell.
Interesting.
The judge, however, didn't grant this request at that time due to a lack of sufficient justification from Van Ryn's legal representative.
Okay, so getting back to Constable Gongatha's testimony.
Yes.
He provided a very detailed account of that search that took place on the night of February 19th.
Okay.
He again emphasized Smith's demeanor and her apparent focus on Appollis when they eventually located him.
Right.
So it seems that these initial observations from law enforcement really played a significant role in how the investigation began to unfold.
They do. They provide that early impression and contribute to that overall narrative that is being built by the prosecution.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, Smith and Appollis disputed Gongatha's version, with Smith claiming she met the police at a different location, the house where Joshlin was supposedly last seen playing, and that the loud music Gongatha heard came from a taxi, not the house itself. So again, we have these differing accounts that create a sense of uncertainty around even the most basic details of that crucial evening.
Now let's turn to the very difficult and disturbing allegations concerning a plan to sell Joshlin.
Yeah.
Despite the incredibly harrowing testimony about the alleged trafficking, Joshlin's paternal grandmother, Loretta Yon, has expressed hope that Joshlin will still be found alive.
Oh, wow.
Which is just this truly heartbreaking reminder of the family's enduring hope in the face of such terrible circumstances.
It really is profoundly sad and speaks to that unwavering love of a family for their missing child.
Absolutely. And then we have Lombard's truly shocking testimony where she claimed that Smith sold Joshlin to a Sangoma.
Oh my God.
For a significant sum, $20,000.
Oh.
Allegedly for her eyes and skin.
Oh my.
She even described a meeting between Smith and a woman in a white VW Polo the day before Joshlin disappeared. Where she alleges this exchange took place. So this is clearly a central and deeply troubling part of the prosecution's case regarding the human trafficking charges.
It really is. And Lombard further claims she witnessed Smith packing Joshlin's clothes into a cooler bag and leaving with her in that same white VW Polo on February 19th. She also alleged that Smith had told them not to report Joshlin missing.
Oh, wow.
Saying she would handle it herself.
Yeah, these are incredibly serious accusations that paint a really disturbing picture.
They do. We also heard from a neighbor, Namla Tinsey, who testified about helping Smith search for Joshlin. So this shows that initial community response, the efforts made by people in the area to try and find this missing child. And then there's the account from Joshlin's teacher, Edna Mart, who recounted a disturbing encounter with Smith the day after Joshlin vanished. Yeah, Mart testified that Smith approached her at a petrol station and claimed a Nigerian man had told her that Joshlin was in a container on a ship heading to West Africa.
Gosh.
And that Appollis was innocent.
Wow. So this just adds yet another layer of complexity and raises even more questions about the information Smith was providing to others in the immediate aftermath of Joshlin's disappearance.
It really does. And further complicating this narrative is the testimony of evangelist Nico Stephen Coetzee. He claimed that Smith had spoken about selling her children.
Oh my gosh.
Way back in August 2023.
Wow.
and even chillingly predicted that there would be this movie scene with people searching for Joshlin but ultimately not finding her.
Oh my gosh.
The prosecutor, Jacquin, quite understandably pointed out the interesting timing of Coetzee coming forward with this information, given the sequence of events.
Absolutely. And as we all can see in trials, the defense attorney, Steveno van Rhyn, attempted to cast doubt on the credibility of these state witnesses, suggesting they were seeking limelight and highlighting any discrepancies they could find in their timelines and accounts. So this is a pretty standard legal tactic aimed at challenging the reliability of potentially damaging testimony.
It's a crucial part of the adversarial legal system, testing the evidence presented by the prosecution.
Absolutely. So shifting our focus now to Smith's own behavior and statements. We heard testimony from Colonel Lyndon Sabola, who was in charge of organizing the extensive search efforts for Joshlin. Colonel Sabola describes Smith's demeanor as indifferent. And recounted a very unsettling statement she allegedly made. She said, "My child Joshlin has made me famous."
Oh my goodness.
He also mentioned having to arrange alternative accommodation for Smith. Due to the intense anger from the community and her insistence on staying with Appollis, which some might find surprising under those circumstances.
It's certainly a stark contrast to what one might expect from a mother whose young child has vanished.
Absolutely. We also heard from Smith's sister, Michaela Daniels, who testified about a WhatsApp conversation where Smith claimed Joshlin was nearby in the informal settlement. That someone wanted to sell her. But it was too hot to go through with it. Daniels also noted that Smith's emotional state seemed to fluctuate quite significantly during their interactions. The defense, in response, argued that Smith's belief that Joshlin was in the informal settlement at that time was due to her motherly instinct. Detective Constable Racquel also shared some details from her investigation, including Lombard's initial nervous behavior and a theory put forward by Van Rhyn, which was investigated and found to be unsubstantiated, suggesting that Lombard's partner might have given Joshlin to a traditional healer. Jacobi also noted that Van Rhyn appeared to be in an unstable emotional state during their interactions. And Sergeant Meyer Milstein, who was also involved in the early stages of the investigation, stated that his initial assessment was that Smith seemed relatively calm and participated in the search efforts. However, the defense countered this by stating that Smith was and continues to be devastated by her daughter's disappearance, and that she had been advised by her family to remain calm. The court also heard that Smith was prescribed antidepressants after Joshlin went missing. We also have the teacher Edna Mart's account of Smith's emotional state when she was first informed about Joshlin's disappearance, which seemed to contradict some of the other accounts of her appearing indifferent. So it really paints a picture of a very complex and often contradictory set of accounts, doesn't it?
It does. Now, we also need to address the very serious allegations of police misconduct that were brought forward by Appollis and Van Rhyn. Both men claimed in court that they were beaten and tortured by police in order to extract confessions. They specifically alleged that they were hung in midair with plastic bags placed over their heads. Sergeant Meyer Milstein, however, denied having any knowledge of the accused being subjected to torture prior to their arrests. So these are extremely serious allegations that the court will undoubtedly need to consider carefully as the trial progresses.
And finally, we can't overlook the powerful reaction from the community in Saldana Bay. During an unsolicited special inspection that took place at Smith's shack, community members voiced their anger and distress, hurling insults at her. And towards the end of the visit, residents chanted, "We want Joshlin." It's a clear demonstration of just the deep concern and pain felt within the community regarding Joshlin's disappearance.
It really underscores that profound emotional impact that this case has had on the people living in that area, a community clearly united in their desire to know what happened to young Joshlin.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the information that has emerged so far, we are left with a multitude of conflicting testimonies. And at the heart of it all, the ongoing and deeply concerning mystery of what happened to 6-year-old Joshlin Smith. We've heard numerous different versions of events, allegations of drug use, and a plan to sell her, and even very serious claims of police misconduct. The truth remains elusive, and the search for Joshlin continues.
It does. And considering these deeply contrasting accounts and the immense emotional weight surrounding this entire case, a crucial point for you to consider is this.
Okay.
With so many different perspectives and allegations being presented, what do you feel are the most critical pieces of information that need to be carefully examined to even begin to understand this profoundly troubling situation? It really compels us to think about the complexities and, above all, the human tragedy that lies at the center of this ongoing search for answers.